Trinidad and Tobago have been dominating Caribbean news in the past couple of weeks, especially since the election and the new administration, the new UNC government taking office, and pretty much they hit the ground running. So over the weekend, people in Trinidad and Tobago have been talking about the new administration and the tough stance on crime in Trinidad and Tobago. And the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamala Persad, she in a press conference, she stated about laws that they're working on, and in particular, a stand your ground law was mentioned, a new firearm law was mentioned, and a home invasion law. So this had the internet in Trinidad going over the weekend, in particular when it comes on to stand your ground law. So in this video, I want to know, do you support the new Trinidad and Tobago stand your ground law? Let's talk about it. So there's no secret that there's a big crime problem in Trinidad and Tobago. And I believe most people in Trinidad and Tobago would admit that as a fact, that over the past, in particular 10 years, like crime has pretty much escalated in the Twin Island of Trinidad and Tobago. And we saw it play out a lot in 2024. We saw the year ending with a state of emergency, which that is the government's way of accepting that, look, this crime thing is out of control. We also saw earlier in 2024 when the popular Canadian vlogger Christmas List went to Trinidad and Tobago, and he was in some of the roughest areas in Trinidad and Tobago doing some video, and he was arrested by the police in Trinidad and Tobago, and he was charged for showing certain things on YouTube. And at that time, we saw a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago came out in support of Christmas List and say, look, the government need to fix the problem and don't blame it on a YouTuber. So I think it's pretty much almost unanimous that crime has been a problem in Trinidad and Tobago. And it is sad because coming from 30 years ago when Trinidad was one of the safest islands in the Caribbean with low crime rate, to now we see like it get to a point where there's like state of emergency, travel advisory. So you could imagine that there are people that are celebrating this move from the new UNC administration under the leadership of Kamala Persad, which she's coming out like forcefully now and say, look, we're going to clamp down on crime. And a lot of people, you can see online, a lot of people are supporting that move. But on the flip side now, there are people that think that the UNC government is going too far, in particular with the stand your ground law. So just take a look at what the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago had to say about Parliament, about meeting in Parliament to get this thing started. Let's take a look.
That we did. A third one has to do with stand your ground laws and home invasion laws. So the Cabinet, excuse me, on a note brought from our Minister of Homeland Security, 2 notes. We agreed that a special committee be established to evaluate and make proposals for an effective suite of measures to enable citizens to properly defend themselves and to properly defend property when faced with a threat by criminal actors. This special committee will make recommendations for an appropriate stand your ground law in Trinidad and Tobago. Data gathered by CAPA, the Crime and Problem Analysis Branch of the TTPS, shows that there has been significant increases in burglaries in almost every division in both Trinidad and Tobago, and that citizens in rural areas are particularly vulnerable to this type of criminal activity because of the relatively long distance, in rural areas, neighbors, being apart, the distances that they cover in the rural areas, it is a particular dangerous situation for families. Therefore, we are working on the development of targeted and coordinated policing approaches and the enactment of an effective suite of legislative provisions, as I say, required to combat this activity in Trinidad and Tobago. We established a special committee, and they will come to us with their recommendations as we try to keep our promise to make T&D a safer place. We have another one, similarly, a committee to be established to deal with home invasions. So we have the Stand Your Ground Laws Committee and one to deal with home invasions. We have established several key subcommittees for in-depth and focused decision making. So these are some of the things we've been working on, which the Cabinet has approved today.
Okay, so that was the news coming out of the Twin Island of Trinidad and Tobago. And as you see, there's a lot of things that's in this law that they're trying to pass. First, they're talking about the home invasion law. And I haven't seen any pushback on this law in terms of, because I believe that most people in Trinidad and Tobago believe that, look, if you're in the sanctity of your own home, that you should have the right to defend yourself if someone tries to come into your house and to disrupt things. So I haven't seen any pushback online where that is concerned. But the pushback starts with, in terms of legal firearm for upstanding citizen. Let's just put it that way. And there are people that are of the mindset that, look, more guns does not necessarily fix the crime problem. So yes, people would have the right to protect themselves, but there are people that are of the mindset that yes, you have business people, you have people, upstanding citizens of Trinidad, but arming them is not going to solve the crime problem. And I would have to say that I am one of them that's in that mindset that yes, arming law-abiding citizens does not necessarily solve the crime problem, especially in the Caribbean. And I think Jamaica would be a good lesson for Trinidad to understudy what's been going on in Jamaica for decades, because legal firearms been available in Jamaica for business people, upstanding citizens for decades, and the crime problem got worse. And a lot of people will tell you that having a legal firearm in Jamaica would have been more of a risk to business people, because a lot of those gangsters would know that you have it and they'll come and try and get it for their use. So a lot of people are coming out and say, I don't know if like putting more firearm out there is really going to solve the problem, especially when the entire region, that has been one of our main problems that CARICOM is trying to deal with, that we're talking to CARICOM as a body, is meeting with the American official to say like, look, what can you do to curb the flow of guns coming into the Caribbean? So adding more legal firearm might not be the solution. And then now we talk about the Stand Your Ground law. And a lot of people might not realize, but the Stand Your Ground law is very triggering to a lot of people. And this goes back to the Trayvon Martin case in the United States of America. And I can't believe it. I think it's about a decade now that that case happened in America. And that triggered a lot of bad feelings in America in terms of race and in terms of privilege and how people defend themselves. And the Trayvon Martin case was one of the biggest cases. It was almost like the Rodney King, the George Floyd case back in those days. So whenever, in particular, people of African descent hears that term like stand your ground, it is triggering to a lot of people. So that is what I've been seeing, the reaction in a lot of comment section online, where people are saying that this stand your ground thing is like very Trump-like. So it's not widely received in a lot of circles in Trinidad and Tobago. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this that the UNC government is trying to put through in terms of the home invasion law, allowing legal, law-abiding citizens of the Twin Island of Trinidad and Tobago to have a legal firearm, and the stand your ground law. Do you have a problem with any of these three? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. And for me, the stand your ground, as I said, for me, when I heard the statement stand your ground law, the first thing that came to my mind was Trayvon Martin. So I believe that there can be law in place because it is pretty much common sense. Like if you're going anywhere and you're being attacked, that you have the right to protect yourself. And that is pretty much in essence, stand your ground. But just the name is very triggering to people. And a lot of places have stayed away from that. Even in Canada, they don't even use those terms because they know that it kind of evoke like a racial undertone because of what happened in America over 10 years ago. So I don't know about the stand your ground. Maybe name it something else. But I understand that as law-abiding citizens, you have the right to protect yourself. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.